Welcome back to the channel Tripping with Retirees. The Retirees is back on the road again, and we are going to a place called Doringbaai. So you may ask, where's Doringbaai? Because very few people heard about this place. It's on the N7. Follow the route through to Vredendal, and from Vredendal you follow the road through to Lutzville, and then through to Strandfontein, and your next stop will be Doringbaai. So we are on day 1 of our trip. It's a few days away, so get into the vehicle with us, drive along and have some fun. This is an epic journey, so please sit back and enjoy. As we leave Cape Town, we are passing the Milnerton refineries on our left-hand side. And we know once we pass these refineries, we will be on the wide open road on the N7 to enjoy the countryside. So let us enjoy the blue skies and the open road. It is the month of June, so it's rather cold and chilly this morning. It's just after 9 a.m. and yes, we are really feeling the chill. So we decided to stop over at our favorite place on the N7, which is a garage on the Papendorp side of the road, to fuel up again. Not for the vehicle, but for ourselves. Hot cup of coffee and some breakfast, and then it's a 3-hour drive to Vredendal. So you know, once you see sheep along the road, you've hit the rural areas. Yes, and here we go on the open road. So let me take you through with us, and I'll explain all the areas we're passing and the little towns, and you can understand where we're driving. So we are going over a pass called Papendorp. Papendorp is situated between Mooriesburg and Citrusdal. This kloof offers you the most spectacular views once you've reached the summit. It is beautiful from the top down, and once you see the valleys down below, you know this is the Western Cape at its best. Mountains in the background, open valley in the foreground, you driving high up on the mountain. This is actually the best place to be. So stay with us as we go through this mountain pass. As you dip down from this mountain pass into an area called Citrusdal, you will see the rich valley of the citrus fruit grown, which is for export use and local use, of course. This area is commonly or widely known to produce the best citrus fruit the Western Cape has to offer. Passing all the fruit trees, we head on to a place called Clan William. William has one of our big dams. It's also a resort and a favorite place for people to do boating on the dam and camping and just general holiday vibes. After spending a few hours on the road, we came across the sign which says Van Reinsdorp. We took that sign, headed into Vredendal, hit the Lutzville side, and then travelled on to Strandfontein. But before we did that, let me show you a few pics of an area called Lutzville, which is a quaint little town. Once we passed Lutzville, we entered the resort area of Strandfontein. Strandfontein met us with beautiful palm trees on either side of the road. A very clean place as we entered, not a paper blowing around. And this is why we like small towns, because of its cleanliness and also because of the quietness that it has to offer. So let me take you through Strandfontein, because there's something I'd like to show you which you haven't probably seen for a while, which is not in use any longer, and a lot of the younger generation don't even know what it is or how to use it. So I'll give you a few moments to guess this riddle and see if you would know what is no longer in use and who don't know how to use this piece of equipment. It's a rare sight. I think it's a piece of antique by now. So in a few moments, you will see what I'm talking about. Yes, it's a public telephone. Public telephones were used years ago before cell phones. You had to put money in it in order to make a call. A sight really seen, and I don't think this one is working any longer. So let us take you through Strandfontein area, which is half resort, half residential, with lots of B&Bs or bed and breakfast, guest houses. Everybody coming here is coming here to enjoy the sea, the ocean, the peace and quiet. So a short trip through Strandfontein, just to give you an idea what the homes looks like here. So almost each home has views of the ocean. What a way to start your day, looking at the ocean when you wake. You're not looking into electric fencing. You're not looking into high walls. You're looking into the freshest air ever and the big blue ocean. At the end of this road, we found a camping site. Yes, there were a few people camping. This is Monday, so we assumed these people are too retired. They're not going anywhere fast. So yes, they're there to enjoy this ocean and the wide open space and fresh air. We then found a road that took us down to drive right against the ocean. It was a sand road. So of course any this the road was driven before. There were vehicle tracks, so we didn't form new tracks. Yes, the road was sandy, but the smell of the ocean, driving on the sand, was just the first step of knowing we're going to have the best fun ever, driving on this sandy road with the ocean next to us. The sound of the breaking waves were hypnotizing. We just sat there and we admired it for a few minutes before going onto the sandy road again. And sooner than later, the sandy road ended and we had to turn around. This is just a different view of the Strandfontein area from a different angle. So these houses are all situated high up on a hill with the perfect ocean views they could ever desire. So yes, we were here again just to have a look and see how wonderful this place is. We then drove and found a little nook where the ocean broke, right against the road practically. There was a house right at the end of this road, and I can guarantee you, a meter longer and they would be parking in the ocean. The exploring then ended here of Strandfontein, and then it was heading to Doringbaai, so it was back on the road again. So Doringbaai is about 10-15 minutes from Strandfontein, so it wasn't a far drive at all, and in the distance we could see the lighthouse of the Doringbaai area, and we were excited to see where we'll be staying for the next few days and what we will be experiencing. So let's head into Doringbaai and enjoy with us. Coming into Doringbaai, we were met by the first restaurant in the area. So there are three. They're all three wonderful restaurants. We ate at two though. But yes, the food was fantastic. So if you're going to this area, please support this community by going to the restaurants. We then found our accommodation, and to our amazement, it was the best accommodation ever. It's called Thornbay Accommodation, the English version. So we arrived at our accommodation, and this is what the kitchen area looks like. There's a microwave, nice full length fridge, which we're not putting anything in but milk, I suppose. And then a little sitting area. And then the sleeping area with dolphins on the wall. Okay, pretty. And there's starfish. And then your hand basin area. Check the bathroom. Oh, there's the lights. You just get the lights on. Here we go. Wallpaper there. Lovely and clean bathroom and toilet. And a packing cupboard here. The mirror and a full-length mirror to check if you are dressed okay. Lovely picture there. And then outside the door, this is what we get. And then we get a braai area and a lovely seating area. Stunning, 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 stunning. Yep, this is our accommodation for the next 2 days. And of course, hubby sat on the wall as we arrived and just admired the view. That night we ate at a place called Fry's Cove. So Fry's Cove is a beautiful restaurant, which is also a wine cellar, and they make their own wines. And later on I'll be explaining to you some or a little bit of their winemaking. So as you pass through the wine cellar to the restaurant, you'll find this information on the wall. This was my meal for that evening, calamari and chips. Hubby had a bowl of creamy mussels. That bowl was loaded with mussels, so much so that we took the task to count them. In total, it was 32 mussels he had for supper. Just a view of the deck area if you're coming to Fry's Cove, or the inside area if you prefer to chill inside. Beautiful deco and the most appropriate sayings ever on the wall. So please take some time, read this, let it sink in, and make sure you know that when you have understood what it's saying, you will then adhere to this rule. There are no shortcuts to anywhere worth going. So whether it's your career or whether it's your daily life, there are no shortcuts. So as promised, I said I'll show you how they call the wines. There are lots of pipes leading into the ocean that takes the water out of the ocean into the cellars to keep the wine cool. This is a unique way of cooling wines. It's a different form of winemaking. So Fry's Cove has discovered this method of cooling wines. There's also abalone farming, so the pipes are also leading to the abalone crates where the abalone is farmed, also filling it up with fresh seawater on a daily basis, or more like a minute basis. So this speaks of the abalone farming taking place in Doringbaai. By the time we were done, the sun was going to be setting, so we took a drive all along the sandy areas in Doringbaai. I was teasing husband and said if this is his idea of a sunset cruise, it's one of the best you're gonna get. And so we were weaving between the rocks, between the sea, and into some sandy areas, just to enjoy everything Doringbaai has to offer. And of course, there was some thick sand, and hubby knows there's no way that I like getting stuck. So he loves teasing me, pretending the vehicle is stuck in the sand, but it's actually not. So yes, he'll back up a bit and go forward, and then choose another path. But there's no vehicle getting stuck. This is just his form of entertaining me while we're riding on these back roads. So the area you're currently looking at is the back part of Doringbaai, where the fishermen live. It's a medium-sized area because there are loads of fishermen. These fishermen has been living here for generations. So yes, I don't think they will leave this area very quickly. And their homes are adjacent to the abalone farms. So yes, they've got the abalone farms right on their doorstep. A closer view of some of the fishermen's houses or the area where they're living, just to give you an idea how privileged these people are not to have one high wall or an electric fence barring them from going out very quickly. They have so much freedom here. And as we approached the sunset and the lighthouse again, it was another sight to see. So let us get out and pass these abalone farms and see what else Doringbaai has to offer. So I wouldn't call this the main road because I'm not too sure. But there are beautiful palm trees here as well. And the place is relatively clean, which is very impressive. So yes, Doringbaai, applause to you and your municipality, your residents too, for keeping your place absolutely clean. This is such a pleasant sight and so appeasing to be in a place that's super clean. And as we approach the church on our right hand side, you will see a school on my right and my church on the left. Apologies. So I'm not too sure if this is a primary school or a high school, but I'm going to assume it's a primary school. What a lovely steeple at this church. And this church too is well maintained. We didn't stop to read the cornerstone, but the church bell still exists. So Doringbaai has a lot of small dogs, and I noticed they're all the same size. It was very amusing not to see a big dog. And then it was time to head to our accommodation and capture the last few minutes of the sun before it fell into the ocean. And before darkness came, we enjoyed the dusk. The sky was beautifully painted. So let's get a rest and we will see you on day 2. On the morning of day 2, as I woke, when I looked up, I saw hubby sitting outside on the stoop, admiring the view. He had the perfect view, and apparently he's been up since 5 a.m., watching the moon drop down in the ocean and watching the beautiful sunrise that he saw. But today we need to start another adventure, so let's get in and drive along with us as we do some more gravel roads in the area. And it's a stunning day in Doringbaai. So we explored each and every little gravel road we could, and every time we took a turn, we were facing the ocean. This was such a beautiful sight because you could drive and take any turn you wanted to, and there was the ocean to greet you once more. So we took a few of those, and just to see what type of road we are driving on. And of course, as hubby loves 4x4ing, gravel and stones were right up his alley. So he enjoyed every minute of doing this because he could engage his 4x4 gaze. And yes, there were many obstacles in the way, but we didn't bother about that. And because hubby has been driving this vehicle for the past 20 years and he knows it well, he knew any obstacle was not a challenge to him. So yes, he overcame those obstacles. We didn't touch a rock, we didn't move a rock, because that is where it belongs. So when you're out in nature, appreciate what you have. Leave everything as you found it and don't mess. This is such a clean place, such an untouched place, that I'd hate people to come and change the landscape of this beautiful area. So as we drove along the sandy path, listening to music in our car which I can't put on because YouTube will kill me, let me just play you some other relaxing music and enjoying this path with us. And soon there was another obstacle. It was a steep incline, and of course the challenge was attacked head on. Hubby's confidence in his vehicle and in himself pulled him right over the steep incline without any problems, and he reached the top just like that. I'm always so proud of him when he does this, but I see that I'm out of the vehicle filming him because that's just the way we do it. We then found an area to stop for a few moments and admire this rock that the nature or the natural environment has totally changed over the years, with the waves lashing against it, the wind and the sun. The rock face has changed to something else. And as we looked back to see how far we were, we could see the lighthouse in the distance, and we were on this rock face at the bottom and admiring the view, but also trying to use and guess, what do you see when you see this strange rock with all the different edging and rough sides and jagged edges? What is your imagination telling you? So yes, we stopped and looked at it for a while, and then we moved along again. And then we decided it was time to have a cup of coffee on a cliff edge. So yes, that is what we did. We took out our deck chairs, put them down right on the edge, boiled some water, and made some coffee. Of course, I had my personal butler slash driver who was making the coffee that morning. We played music and sat and admired the view. And whenever I sit on a rock edge or I have a view of the horizon, I always reflect and look at it and says, you're looking into forever. So yes, when you stare across the horizon, you're basically looking into forever. And it's such a perfect time just to center yourself and get yourself back to where you should be and get rid of all the noise around you, everything that bothers you, and have some peace. And this was our view for the next half an hour. And this is the sound we listened to as the waves were breaking. And soon the time was up, and we had to leave to the next little town, which was called Papendorp. So Papendorp is a very small town between Doringbaai and Strandfontein. It's about 7 minutes away. And we know there's something interesting, which is the flamingos on the salt pans. So off we went in search for the flamingos. And when we arrived at the salt pans, there were no flamingos. I think it was too late. The feeding time was over. So yes, we just admired the area, had a look at it, and searched to see if there was one flamingo at least, but there were none. So yes, it was time to explore Papendorp. But first, when we looked at our vehicle, we were so surprised to see the amount of mud and salt on the tires. So luckily Hubby has good tires on his vehicle, but this was rather dangerous. But we decided to proceed and explore the town before we cleaned it off. So a little bit of history about Papendorp. Papendorp has salt pans, silence, and soul-level solitude. It is the place where the Olifant's river mouth goes into the ocean. So yes, the loudest thing you will hear is a bird and your boots in the sand. This area is totally unspoilt, and the smell of salt in the air, you know you're out in nature. So let's see what Papendorp has to offer other than salt pans and flamingos that were gone for the day. We drove on the sandy road back, and then we came across what they call the labyrinth, and we took time to read the labyrinth of memories. So yes, these stones were laid by hand that was used from somebody's house, a lady called, I lost the words, but yeah. But as I said, it was built by hand with gratitude for the past and our ancestors, hope for the future and for our children. So yes, it was first known as Viswater, and the lady's name was Lady Fryer. And the only way in is the only way out of this labyrinth. So I went up to explore and see how this labyrinth has been laid out and all the stones that were laid by hand. These stones were all neatly placed and in a way that you could find your way in and out. And yes, it was very interesting to see how the stones were recycled from a home into a labyrinth. The views down of the lagoon was breathtaking. So we had a look at this just to see what the estuary looked like, and yet there were no flamingos. But Abby took the time out to clean off his wheels because we know the danger of driving with mud on a solid road or a tar road and not having grip. So here he found some water and a bag and he cleaned off his wheels. There were cakes of mud coming out of his wheels and of the bottom of the vehicle. He cleaned it off as well as he can, but I know what he will be doing shortly after this. He'll be finding a car wash just to take the salt and this mud off his vehicle because he hates a dirty vehicle. So we explored and walked around a bit, and I did that while he was cleaning off his wheels. I found some boats laying on the shore, which was used by the locals, navigating their path around in the waterways of this area to get out of to the ocean from the estuary. I could hardly see above how they could see where they were going, but they obviously knew which way was best for them. So I don't know if these boats are still in use or are they just laying there because they were overused. But yes, they did add some decor to the place and some look just to show you how these people live. There was also a cemetery which was close by, and we had a look at the cemetery. But first, let me show you the lookout point where you could sit and admire. The cemetery was just behind the lookout point. These people were resting in the most perfect place ever. So now we're going to be leaving Papendorp, which is the smallest place I've seen for a while. I don't know how these people make a living and what they do, but it's very, very tiny. And I'm sure they appreciated somebody coming to see where they are living. And as we headed out of Papendorp and back to Doringbaai, we thought it would be a good idea to have some late lunch. And we stopped at a place called The Cabin, which is right at the entrance of Doringbaai. We sat and had a lovely cup of tea, had something to eat, and we were waiting for the boats to come in that had left earlier that morning. It was a beautiful sunny day, but first we had to pop in at the local cafe, and I saw the most hilarious sight ever. One fuel tank, not sure if it was petrol or diesel, but I assumed it was diesel. This is something us city folk is not familiar with. We're used to having choices. Here are no choices. You have one fuel tank and one cafe, and that is what you get, and people are happy like that. And sooner than later, the boats started coming in, and the guys were returning with the catch of the day. The roar of the engines coming into the ocean or from the ocean back into shore as they navigated their way through the rocks. These guys were pros. They knew exactly how to bring their boats safely back into the harbor. A few locals arrived to meet them as they returned to shore, and so did the vehicle to pull him safely back onto solid ground. And so we watched to see how these people do this activity day after day. It's a matter of survival. They eat from the ocean. They take enough for a meal and for the community. There's no overfishing here. So if you had looked earlier, there's a building which was the old crayfish factory. So it was overfished here. There are no crayfish left in abundance. So the crayfish factory closed down and these people were left without work here. But they still made a plan and they are still surviving. The ocean still gives them enough to feed them for another day. So let's hope and pray the crayfish come back, these people get their jobs back, and they will live a better life. And as we watch the vehicle reversing into the ocean to get the boat back safely on shore, and watching the locals gather to welcome the men back, also to see what their catch is for the day. And there they go. In less than a few minutes, they were safely on shore with their fish on board. And there the people go to see what the catch is of the day. So this area is just across the road from where we were staying, and as we turned our backs, we looked back at our accommodation. How privileged we were to have this accommodation, the view from the front into the ocean, and admire the fishermen coming back with their boats. And all these people along this road has got a perfect view of the ocean, like many of them do. And soon, that was the day and the end of the day, and everybody knew nightfall was coming. And as the sun set over the ocean, we had to close our eyes and enjoy another beautiful sunset. The sky was painted orange just at the time of dusk. We admired this view for a little while because we know the West Coast sunsets are the very best you're going to get. I decided to lay on the bed and view the sunset or this dusk time from our bed because this is a rare opportunity. And as the sun fell into the ocean once more, I'm going to end this video. But there's another link to this journey I wish you to follow with us. So this video is going to be continued in another video to follow. If you liked it, please like, share and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next video.